Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Trade the Chain. It is March 5th, 2021. Happy Friday, by the way.
Yes, indeed.
It's first of all, everybody loves a Friday, right? But you know, today it's a little more neutral than it was yesterday when Ryan panic sold all his holdings except for Doge.
Panic sell. That's how we're characterizing it now. Okay.
There's a lot of green on the charts today, so we're really happy about that. We're going to go over a few things, but yeah, if you missed yesterday's episode, Ryan, the best hair in crypto, sold his entire portfolio right before the episode. We all saw him execute it. He just dumped it all, and we're still amazed.
Talk about a move.
Yeah, Bush League. I have paper hands, but but Alex, if you go back to that real quick before we get into the disclaimers,
Sure.
That green is only on the 1 hour. That 24-hour price movements, it's all in the red. So while everyone else sat there losing money, I'm sitting here earning yield on USDC. So I don't know. I broke even and even earned some while everyone else, just went down. So I slept well last night. I didn't even look at my Voyager account when I woke up this morning. I don't care. Let the market go down. I don't care. I'll be back when it starts to recover.
Yet another perk to being a member of Voyager. 8.5% on USDC yields.
Not a sponsored message. They do not sponsor the podcast.
And
but I am taking advantage of that sweet, sweet yield. And with that, let's get into the disclaimers. This is just a reminder that all content provided by Trade the Chain and all discussion of my portfolio is strictly for informational and entertainment purposes only. None of this is investment advice. Do not do what I do. Do not do what Alex does or CJ or Monty or any of us or our guests. Do not listen to us ever.
I actually prefer to do exactly the opposite of what Ryan does because that makes me money.
It didn't last night. Trade the Chain is brought to you by Trade the Chain, a global 24/7 community of traders of all ages, all abilities, all backgrounds, and all skill sets, all using AI-driven sentiment indicators and actionable alerts to help them beat the market and trade like a crypto insider. If you want a 14-day trial, check out tradethechain.com.
And another shot of that beautiful dashboard with some new price charts on the 1 hour. So very cool stuff.
Yeah.
Well done there. And moving over to marketrebellion.com/crypto. This is Monty and myself and Market Rebellion and our community. And with us, you get exclusive access to our trade ideas, our macro portfolio allocations, a pro charting platform with some of our custom indicators, a trading education curriculum, and a community of traders all throughout the world, and much more. If you're serious about trading crypto, this is the service that gives you everything you need all in one place. You can start your first month trial for just $1 at marketrebellion.com/crypto.
Just $1. It's a steal.
Guys.
Yeah.
I do want to warn that today's episode could get a little fiery. So if you have small children in the room, don't worry, we're not going to curse. Go ahead. There'll be some debates, though. Some statements.
There's always a spicy debate on Trade the Chain.
There's two of us who are spicy today.
Let's do a couple. Just a little recap of why the market is down.
Why I sold off.
And I think it has a lot to do with Jerome Powell's reaction earlier in the week. Basically, I think the market was anticipating him to come out and say, look, this is what we're going to do to lower rates, but that's not what he did. He pretty much said, we're fine, and we're not going to raise rates, but that evidently wasn't enough for the market. And we continue to see the yield on the US 10-year go up. We were at 1.6% earlier today. We dropped in the morning, and we actually did spike in the S&P and in Bitcoin off a really nice jobs report coming in today. But going back to this yield, we were talking about this morning with John on the Daily Crypto Bite, and there's a couple different actions the Fed could do to potentially lower this yield. I think they definitely need to do something and step in before it gets to high levels like 1.8 or even 2%. But I do think they'll eventually step in, and they'll do that by buying these 10-year bonds and selling short-term ones to essentially take that yield from 1.5%, hopefully to a lower level to where we were in the previous year throughout this entire raging bull market. Because when you increase the yields on these treasury notes, it ultimately makes it more enticing for investors to go into bonds as opposed to stocks and risk on assets. And Bitcoin is that. It's characterized like a tech stock, and it's selling off with the rest of the market due to this yield curve. But I am optimistic that the Fed will step in and take the right actions in order to get the stock market going back up higher again. And I think as a result, that will inevitably come into Bitcoin as well, as risk on assets continue to do better. So I'm not like a gloom and doom. I don't think we're going to 30K. Could we see some interim, bloodshed to like 40K, 43K previous levels? I think that's possible. As of now, it's not looking like it's probable necessarily. But I am hoping that the market does recover based on those actions that the Fed is likely to follow. And so that's pretty much all I have to say on Bitcoin. With that, I'll pass it back to you guys.
CJ, what about Bitcoin depression because of F2Pool?
Oh, we're starting this off that early. Okay.
I'm just lighting the match now. I'm sorry. Was that too soon? Too soon?
All right. I guess I'll talk about it.
It was smoldering embers, and now it's about to be a raging inferno.
Yeah. So, I mean, the YouTubers really ran with this narrative. Honestly, it like blaming one person for being a seller and like crashing the market. It's very reminiscent of 1929 when Jesse Livermore made $100 million in the 20s off of shorting the crash. And a lot of people actually tried to go after him and physically hurt him because they thought he, accelerated the market crash and was responsible for losing all of those savings. I see the same type of mentality going on with the so-called F2Pool like manipulation. And if we actually get into some of the numbers on this, we'll look at the outflows of F2Pool, and even on the highest day of outflows, when $14,000 of Bitcoins left F2Pool. And that doesn't mean they have to be sold. They can be put into cold storage, or they could be put other ways. But even if we assume that all of these Bitcoins were sold, it doesn't even touch the level of overall global volume done on this asset. Not to mention that you don't get this data until after the fact. So it's useless. I am a dinosaur by this point, and I can't front run F2Pool. So whining about it does me no good. And even if we look at the mathematics behind this, let's say F2Pool was responsible for the recent dump. They had a total outflow of 8,000, let's just call it 8,000 Bitcoin. The global volume is over 1 million in Bitcoin. That is just a blip. And so it's a narrative. It's something that gets people's emotions going. But to say that it has any validity and long-term impact on the market is just asinine. And sure, the market could be manipulated. This is a unregulated emerging market that has provided people with a lot of gains depending on whether or not they got in early. So my advice, or I guess what I would say, is take the market for what it is. And if it's truly manipulated, try to do your best to get on the side of the manipulators. Otherwise, whining about it is just useless.
Great show today, guys. Great show. Love that.
Yeah, that's some good stuff. F2Pool doesn't matter. And you know who else doesn't matter? Michael Saylor and Microstrategy. Doesn't make a difference. Wow. It doesn't matter.
Wow.
The market is up. Market's rallied 400 points up today. You know who hasn't rallied? Microstrategy. They're down 58% from their all-time high back in February. 58%. You know, look at this. This is ridiculous. This is a brilliant corporate leader. This is the one that everyone in Bitcoin is flocking to, and everyone's saying that this guy is a visionary. He's running his company back into the ground, right? He's jumped the shark. He bought so much Bitcoin that he has the markets now chasing a white rabbit of dopamine, thinking that every time he buys more Bitcoin, the market's going to go up. Bitcoin's going to go up. Well, he bought 10 million this morning. Is it doing anything? Market's down still. You know who's happy?
19 billion.
Yeah. You know who's happy he sold out last night? This guy with paper hands. I made the right move because MicroStrategy buying $10 million worth of Bitcoin doesn't matter. And if you look at MicroStrategy's historical chart before the company bought Bitcoin, guys, this guy is not a visionary corporate leader. He's a guy who ran a mediocre company for well over a decade that traded flat, and it didn't do anything innovative. All it was doing was working with Facebook for data scraping, basically. And ultimately, you have this flat chart that Alex is pulling up right now. This is your visionary corporate leader. This is your man. This is the one that's going to show companies how to run a company. This is your corporate treasury visionary, the guy who's been investigated by the SEC for improprieties. And you can look that up. It's widely reported. It's public knowledge. It's in Edgar, the SEC database. I don't understand Bitcoin, the Bitcoin and crypto Twitter community and all of these clicks that are so fascinated with Michael Saylor and everything he has to say. I just don't get it. And if you look further into his background and his history and how he's run MicroStrategy, this wasn't a board decision. He didn't need the support of his company to do this. He has a unique share structure that he created that gives him unilateral power to do whatever he wants with the company funds. And that's why he spends outsized amounts on travel and personal security. There isn't a CEO in America that has a higher personal security bill than Michael Saylor as a percentage of his company's earnings. It's absurd, the amount of money he pays himself and the way he finds loopholes to pay himself. And for him to take all of his company's treasury and irresponsibly put it into a risk asset like Bitcoin, that's not visionary, it's reckless. And anyone who disagrees with me, I'm here all day. Come at me. You can find me on Twitter. It's in the description. You can come at me in the live chat. I can pick apart any logic that you think you have behind defending Michael Saylor. It doesn't make sense what he's doing. Issuing more debt to buy more Bitcoin isn't going to help his company. It's not. I don't know. It's infuriating that people look up to this guy and think he's some kind of mastermind. He's right, far from it.
To be fair, what's the best case scenario for MicroStrategy if Bitcoin goes to 200K?
That it doesn't correct to 80K. Because look what's happened with a small drop in Bitcoin. He's not going to sell. A small drop in Bitcoin, and look how far MicroStrategy stock has gone down. It's down 58%. What happens if Bitcoin corrects from 200K to 100K or to 80K? The company is he's going to have a lot of problems.
Man, I'm thinking about buying some MicroStrategy calls just off of Ryan right here now.
Yeah, do the opposite of what I say. I know. It's infuriating that people place so much faith in him. The guy doesn't know how to run a company responsibly. And yes, buying Bitcoin was a clever gambit to boost the share price of the stock. He had no founders on Twitter. No one interacted with his tweets. No one cared about him. As soon as he starts talking about Bitcoin, he is king of Twitter. He has thousands of interactions for every tweet. I don't understand the fascination with the guy.
This is like rage hate YouTube today.
Yeah, wow, that was we could have made a whole video on just Ryan's rant right there on the MicroStrategy. That was good.
Monty, I want to ask you, what do you think of the arbitrage opportunity happening with Gbtc right now at a discount of 12% to BTC?
Yeah, it's interesting. We've had a lot of people asking us about what we think of Gbtc as an investment vehicle in terms of getting exposure to Bitcoin. And I think that the premium that it's trading at right now kind of provides a unique opportunity for people that aren't even necessarily, like you said, they don't even need to be looking for exposure to Bitcoin to see this as an opportunity to possibly arbitrage trade or even make profits on this. So I think it's very interesting that, we're seeing this premium for the first time. I think Gbtc is kind of almost in the same boat as MicroStrategy in a sense, because I think Ryan made a really good point where he touched on how like with just this slight sell-off in Bitcoin, we're seeing such massive corrections in all these vehicles that are supposed to provide somewhat direct exposure to Bitcoin. And they're really much more volatile. I think what we're seeing here is kind of something that CJ and I have been talking about for a while, and that's how these other vehicles that are traded on NASDAQ, like MicroStrategy or even like Gbtc, they are much more prone to news-related events influencing their price than Bitcoin is. I think because of the fact that there is so much confluence in the run-up between Bitcoin and between Gbtc and MicroStrategy and Mara, and also the influx of positive news-related events, people are kind of conflating the idea that these assets and these vehicles were rising in tandem with Bitcoin and that the market was actually news driven. I think now, to Ryan's point, we're seeing that news isn't really that important for Bitcoin. It's a lot more important for these assets that rode the positive news up. So I think Bitcoin right now is actually technically poised a lot better than it was yesterday. We set this higher low right here, which I think is very encouraging. But you're not seeing the same sort of things in Gbtc or in Riot and Mara. And I think that just goes back to the fact that they're much more prone to news-related events. Bitcoin has technicals that are actually driving this, whereas MicroStrategy is just being driven by the fact that it's exposure to Bitcoin. So that's kind of the risk that these people took on when they were writing this up. There wasn't much behind it other than the fact that it was exposure to Bitcoin. Now that Bitcoin's correcting on a technical level, these other assets really don't have much to bank on. So yeah, it's a pretty interesting time to be trading Bitcoin and Bitcoin related vehicles.
All right. Very cool.
If you want to buy Bitcoin at an 80% premium, you know how you do that? MicroStrategy. I mean, there's even a column in CoinDesk, Lawrence Gordon, from yesterday, detailing all the financials behind that. And one more point on Michael Saylor. Back in 1998, he pledged $100 million to start an internet university to provide free education for everyone on Earth forever. This is the guy that you're going to as your Bitcoin messiah. Where's that university? What happened? You know?
Okay. A few things I'd like to cover today. A few things I'd like to cover today, folks, is one, I like to go to my hot list that can change on a day-to-day basis. Look, I mean, Cardano, here's ADA. You guys a few days ago could have bought the discount on this thing. It was down quite a bit. There was a little flash down to, I believe, the 60s last week. But anyway, let me move on to the stuff I really want to talk about, which is KNC, Kyber Network. I'm glad to see Kyber Network have some good returns for the week. We're 229 right now. Kyber Network was down to 137. It went down to over here during the week. Got a lot of people scared. I've always commented on the fact that, listen, $469 million market cap. I think it's undervalued. I'm waiting for KNC, and I'll go back to the price prediction thing that everybody wants. Again, not financial advice. KNC at 229 right now. I think KNC is a good $5 to $8 in the 3 to 4 month term. That's my feeling on it. I think it's undervalued. Another one I want to talk about, I want to revisit what we touched yesterday with this triple top on VGX. Now, we did see a little correction here. CJ, Monty, give us your thoughts on this slight correction. I'm glad we didn't hit below the other bottoms. That was really good. But where do we think we're going from here in the short term?
Well, we know that Voyager's got a lot of cool stuff in the works. We know that they're going to, the token swap is coming up. The interest from VGX is going to go to 3 to 7%. We're probably going to get a debit card from Voyager in the next 5 months. We're also going to get a desktop released. So there's a lot of interesting stuff going on in the market for Voyager. It's just the whole market dynamics right now are really dependent on the Fed stepping in and lowering these yields. Because if the yields get too high, they're going to spook the stock market. Those risk assets are going to sell off. They're going to bleed into Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency market, and VGX is going to be affected as well. So I really like the technical formation. I like that we just hit a TD buy 9 on the 4-hour on the right side. Yep, there. Thank you. But really, it's more important with those fundamental factors going on right now. If Bitcoin does well, Voyager's going to add users. More people are going to be looped into buying the VGX token, and it's going to be this like self-fulfilling prophecy, and hopefully pushes price to the double-digit range. But going back, it's all dependent on the Fed.
Yeah, and I think you make a great point, CJ. Although we've seen a bit of divergence from the rest of the market here with VGX, it's performing pretty different than the rest of the market. Its performance going forward is still very contingent on the price action of Bitcoin itself. When we saw this massive influx of new users for Voyager, that was due to the huge speculation on Bitcoin and the massive run up to 50K in the first place. So now that these people are getting on the wait list, they may not be quick to pull the trigger because we're kind of in the midst of what feels like a bit of a downturn. So I think once Bitcoin starts rallying and the market, like you said, CJ, we're contingent on what the Fed kind of hands down. But I think once this market starts to kind of turn around a little bit, I think VGX will really take off. But I think even without Bitcoin necessarily entering another parabolic uptrend, VGX could still potentially go up. I still think they're doing the right things as a company. We always talk about the importance of added utility, token efficiency. Voyager's hitting all the marks there. So I think that even without a massive pop in Bitcoin, Voyager could maybe carry itself to the $10 mark just because of those things you mentioned, CJ, with the added interest and the changes they've been making and the cash back on trades. There's a lot of reasons to hold the Voyager token if you're a Voyager customer. So I think that this is one to look at that could potentially perform well, even if the Bitcoin market continues to trade somewhat sideways.
To your point, Monty, Celsius and Binance did that when Bitcoin was relatively neutral to a bear market. So it's been done before with those similar type utility tokens. We'll see what VGX does in these coming months.
Couple things. One, T-Fuel, Theta Fuel, recent deal with Sony. It stayed strong through this market, I think, based on this news. We have up 339% for the last 30 days. So really solid performance by them. Also, I want to give a notable to Swissborg. 24 hours, 12%, but that 12% with what we now call the Ryan Gorman market cycle, that 12% has allowed Swissborg, CHSB, the ticker, to be in the top 5 performers over the last 24 hours. And, one thing to note on Swissborg, they don't have a USDT.
You have to just do USD.
Yeah, there we go. Is that it's been a relatively range bound token, but as you see, it's gotten some catapulting in the last week or so, and I'm going to say that's due to the fact that they just rolled out their yield program, which allows people to earn interest on various coins that they have. I look at CHSB. Swissborg to be a broker in Europe, very comparable from a token economics as well as a value add, multi-counterparty execution add like Voyager. So congrats to those guys over there. High hopes. And that's my standouts that I was looking at. By the way, I'll do a CHSB price target. We got 115 right now, up from its range bound 92 to 95, let's say. I'm going to call Swissborg at about $4 to $5 in the next 3 to 4 months. That's what my prediction is. Full disclosure, I hold a bunch of what I talk about, so that's that.
Yeah, still waiting on that Stmx 25 cents. We'll see about that.
There's a lot. Yeah,
that's it. I hold just Doge right now.
All right, I'm doing one more, okay, because there was a lot of comments in that CJ was gonna rip on it. By the way, if you didn't see the comments from yesterday's video, I suggest you go read them.
Oh, they're a treat. I love my fans.
Especially the one with paper hands Malloy over there, Ryan Gorman. So a lot of you guys the other day, I did say I was looking at 25 cents and $1 for Stmx. Listen, I do believe 25 cents is an attainable target with Stmx. It's been relatively resilient to the market moves. I mean, you look at it, it doesn't get much more solid range bound than that. $1 is a little hopeful right now. You know, there's an outsized token supply. CJ, don't laugh. Nobody can see him, but he's laughing at me right now. $1 is there's an oversized token pool. So maybe if there's some burning that goes on. Also, we haven't delved into the full Metcalfe's law and what their analysis from that is as far as customer signups and usage. We know they got 450,000 new customer downloads over the last 12 months. But I do see 25 cents as a promising figure to attain, or an attainable figure. $1, maybe a little more out there. We have to delve into it some more. So I saw a lot of comments on that making fun of me, like Ryan's Doge holdings.
I sleep well.
I sleep well too. Well,
Yeah.
last night, I mean, Ryan got me scared, so I woke up every couple times last night to check the price.
Not this guy.
Yeah.
I slept so soundly. My God.
All right, is that it for us, guys? Are we calling the Friday whistle right now?
God, yes,
Well,
please.
Everybody looks tired. Monty, I think, may have fell asleep at some point during this episode. Guys, don't forget Monty and CJ on with John Nigerian live stream over at their YouTube channel Monday through Friday, 10 in the morning. We'll see how long that lasts, depending on how long these guys keep waking up at that hour. Just joking. And then also, if you're a Trade the Chain member, we just completed our live stream AMA before this. It'll be posted on the channel here this weekend.
great new features we went over, Alex. Great new features.
Tons of new features.
New coins as well.
New coins. We listed a couple
Yeah.
of coins. So yeah, so definitely check out marketrebellion.com, tradethechain.com. Hang on to your handlebars. Happy trading. Have a great weekend, folks. And unless CJ calls me on Sunday, I'll see you Monday. Goodbye, guys.
Bye.